My guest is an Oscar nominee, composer, producer, and pianist, Volker Bertelmann, Hauschka. Good morning again, and welcome in RMF Classic Radio.
No, thank you for having me.
So today, Hauschka, today evening, as part of this FMF online edition, we are going to hear a concert entitled Cinematic Piano, which took place 2 years ago. And you performed it with Dustin O'Halloran at the piano. It was Lion, original motion picture soundtrack. I was there. I can remember very, very well this musical event. I would like to ask you, Hauschka, do you remember that special evening, so special for Lion score, as I know it was very first time you performed this in duo like this, two pianos for the first time. Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't performed the Lion score together since then. I mean, it was just this evening, one time, and because the Lion score itself is quite a more complex score for orchestra, and you have a lot of other instruments. There are, of course, a lot of piano pieces in there. And when we got requested, we both felt like we are not such a big fan in terms of performance, when it comes to performance, to always think in bigger, more lights, more flashing things.
More bombastic
like a big,
sounds.
bombastic show in a way. We rather had the feeling it's nice to have a very personal approach on the score, and maybe using, the themes and working together as a duo on things like that. And in a way, it reflects a little bit how we as musicians work together, which is mostly an exchange of ideas, of abilities, not putting yourself always in the front row and push all the others down from stage, but it's more about looking into working together and finding a kind of own language.
Again. So okay. I would like to ask you, Hauschka, about behind the scenes concerning soundtrack recordings. We talk about Lion all the time. So you work together or apart with Dustin. I'm really, really curious about this working together challenge.
Yeah. Well, first of all, it needs a person that you really trust. It wouldn't make sense if we don't like each other. A work over the distance wouldn't work. And at the same time, with Dustin, the way we work is mostly we just watched the film together. The director was at that time in Australia. So Dustin was in Los Angeles. I was in Germany. And we had a kind of meeting. It was very hard to find a time where somebody is not has to stand up at very late in the night to talk about things. So we try to make that as gentle for everyone as possible. And then we watched the movie together. We made some notes, and from there onwards, I was working in my studio. Dustin was working in his. And once we found some themes or some ideas, and we introduced those to each other, then I was flying to Los Angeles, and we finished the movie together and the work on the movie, and we composed all the themes. But it needs definitely, from that experience, I know that it needs your private space in a way to get an own idea of what you want, and then you can present it. You need always your own freedom first. You can't sit with someone. Of course, you can say, "Hey, what do you think about that melody?" But in the way how we work is that we first introduce each other to the idea that we have as a single person, and then we decide which one is maybe the strongest for that purpose.
All right, that's very interesting, real musical friendship, I would say,
Yeah, it's definitely like democracy, I would say, because it also means you have to face, if your idea is maybe the weak one, then you have to say, yeah, I was
Maybe
not so
you're
good.
right.
Yeah, maybe yours is better,
All right. Wow.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought at that moment, that this score will be so successful and will get this Oscar nomination after? And, well, I would like to ask you, do you remember that moment when you find out about this nomination?
Yeah.
Can you remember
absolutely.
that?
I remember that, but nominations and applying for being nominated is a long process. It's not like a lottery. It's a little bit
It's
more
not Nobel
like
Prize.
no, it's not like something is picked out of the blue. It's a lot of times you're presenting your work to the people that are voting for it. You do a lot of screenings, you do a lot of interviews. In a way, there's a whole campaign for at least to bring your work to acknowledgement and where people can decide if they like it or not. So in a way, you mostly sense that there is something going to happen. And I would say after the film got premiered at the Toronto Film Festival, at that film festival, you could already sense that the air around that film was really hot. There were a lot of people talking about it, and so we decided at that time that it might be a good idea to invest a lot of meetings and screenings. And so my main half year after Toronto Film Festival was mostly flying to Los Angeles, staying there a week, having a lot of interviews and screenings, and then flying back again, and doing this maybe 3 or 4 times. And then we got suddenly nominated for the Golden Globe. That was the first. No, it was actually the first one was the Critics' Choice Award, and then every other award was coming. So in a way, we were surprised that this was all happening, but at the same time, we worked for it as a kind of idea. And if we wouldn't get nominated, it would be okay, But I remember on the day, on one evening, I was in Los Angeles. Our publicist was calling the two of us and saying, "You should prepare a sentence if you are nominated, because that is needed, and they are asking already for that." And so we prepared that, and the next morning we received a phone call, and then the browsing was starting. It was a little bit like a shower of acknowledgement, which was wonderful.
Yes, and do you remember that sentence?
Well, I think
what was
most
so important for you at that moment?
Well, I mean, the main thing that was happening in that sentence was that we were very thankful to be a part of that film, and we were very thankful to the director. That was, the collaboration was fantastic, and it's not always easy to be acknowledged in a work where you have the feeling you are a similar part. I mean, of course, it's the director's film, and the director is the most important person, and you have also the actors that are important, but at the same time, music in a way makes such a huge amount of quality to the film, or brings so much on the table, but a lot of times it has a very small part in the whole thing. And so we were very lucky that we had a director that was totally loving music, and who was really giving us the freedom of doing what we thought would be our music to the film. And I think he was always encouraging us to work in our way rather than fulfilling his vision of music. So, and that's mostly of all the films I worked with where I had that opportunity. These films had a lot of strength when everybody in the team could develop his quality, I would say.
Thank you very much for revealing this to us. And at the end, I would like to ask you just to invite our listeners, film music fans, FMF fans, well, everybody who loves movies and soundtracks, just, to invite for this evening stream. Can you do it for us?
Hi, I'm Hauschka, and you're listening tonight to the cinematic piano concert that I have done 2 years ago with my colleague and friend Dustin O'Halloran. We did the music for the film Lion, and we both remembered that concert very well because it was our first performance of that concert and of the score. And it was also a pleasure to do that in Krakow, because Krakow, for both of us, is a city where we always love to be and hang out, especially on that big square in the center. We always love to walk around there. So I hope you enjoy it, and hopefully soon we can come back physically back to Krakow.
That's perfect. I would like just to add, please visit RMF Classic or FMF Facebook profile, as well YouTube channels, both of them. We have a special radio broadcast also for you, our listeners, and you can listen to it today at 9 p.m. on RMF Classic radio show. And with Hauschka, we hope that you will have a wonderful evening.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.